What most people never consider is that the moment you cross the threshold of 60, a slow and silent deterioration begins inside the lens of your eye, one that started long before any symptoms ever appeared. The proteins responsible for keeping your lens transparent were synthesized before you even took your first breath. Your body produced them once, in utero, and never manufactured them again. From that point forward, they are on their own absorbing decades of oxidative stress, ultraviolet exposure, and metabolic wear with no possibility of replacement. Over time, these proteins begin to misfold, aggregate, and cluster together, transforming what was once a perfectly clear biological lens into a progressively cloudy, light-scattering structure. That hazy film you notice when you wake up, those rings of light blooming around oncoming headlights at night, that persistent blur you keep trying to blink away, none of that is random. It is the cumulative result of protein damage that, in most patients I see, has been building silently for 2 to 3 decades before anyone connected the dots. By the time someone sits across from me in the examination chair and hears the phrase age-related progression, the underlying biological process has already been underway for most of their adult life. What I want to share with you today is something I believe deserves far more attention than it currently receives in mainstream eye care conversations: the direct relationship between what you eat and the speed at which this process unfolds. Specifically, I'm going to walk you through 6 seeds available in virtually every grocery store, each containing compounds that feed the very protective systems your lens proteins are being deprived of. I've ranked them from least to most impactful, based on every category of evidence I examined, and I need to flag something about the third one before we even get there, because the way most people are consuming it means their bodies are extracting almost no benefit from it whatsoever. But first, you need a clear picture of what is actually happening inside your eye, because without that foundation, the science behind these seeds won't land the way it should. Here is something that genuinely surprises most of my patients. Your eye lens has absolutely no blood supply, not a reduced blood supply, none at all. It is entirely isolated from your circulatory system, which means no fresh oxygen is being delivered, no cellular repair crews are dispatched, no replacement materials are ever shipped in. The lens runs entirely on its own internal chemistry for the full duration of your life. The molecule that powers that chemistry is called glutathione, and in a young, healthy lens, it is present in extraordinarily high concentrations, among the highest found anywhere in the human body. Glutathione is what keeps your lens proteins separated, stable, and transparent. Light travels straight through unobstructed, and your vision stays sharp. But here is what published research has confirmed, and what is almost never discussed outside of specialized journals. Beginning in your 50s, a physical diffusion barrier begins forming around the nucleus, the central core of your lens. This barrier progressively restricts glutathione from reaching the innermost region of the lens, the precise location where the most vision-threatening cataracts develop. Your lens core begins operating without its primary antioxidant defense, while you feel completely normal, while your vision still seems acceptable, while you have no symptoms at all. And without that glutathione shield in place, the proteins at the lens core begin to denature, unfold, and aggregate. They scatter incoming light rather than focusing it. Your eye doctor reviews your imaging and tells you this is simply aging, and they are correct about the mechanism. What frequently goes unmentioned is that the rate at which glutathione is depleted, the rate at which protein aggregation accelerates, the extent to which oxidative damage spreads through your lens tissue, all of it is meaningfully influenced by diet, by specific antioxidants, by specific fatty acid profiles, and by compounds found inside 6 seeds that most people walk past on the grocery shelf without a second thought. Consider this: cataract surgery is the single most performed surgical procedure on the planet. Researchers have calculated that delaying cataract onset by just 10 years could reduce its incidence by 50%. And the dietary compounds capable of supporting the biology that makes that delay biologically plausible are receiving almost no public attention. That is exactly what I want to address today. Starting at number 6, Sesame seeds. Before you scroll past this one, there is a critical detail about sesame seeds that almost no one discusses, and it is costing people a substantial portion of the nutritional value they believe they are getting. Sesame seeds contain zinc, which your retina depends on to activate the enzymatic pathways that protect your photoreceptors and facilitate vitamin A mobilization from the liver into your eye tissue. They contain copper. They contain vitamin E. These are genuinely useful, evidence-backed compounds. The problem is that sesame seeds are also dense with phytic acid, and phytic acid does one very specific thing in your gastrointestinal tract. It chelates minerals, zinc, copper, all of it binding them before your intestinal wall has any opportunity to absorb them. You chew, you swallow, you believe you are doing something beneficial for your eyes, and a meaningful share of those minerals exits your body without ever entering your bloodstream. The solution takes 3 minutes and costs nothing. Dry roast them in a pan over medium heat for approximately 3 minutes until you detect that warm, toasted aroma beginning to rise. That heat degrades the phytic acid structure and liberates the minerals bound within it. A small handful of toasted sesame seeds on a salad, over eggs, or mixed into anything you are already eating. Roughly $2 a month, but I'll be direct with you. Sesame seeds represent a nutritional floor. They help slow the rate at which you lose ground. They are not reversing anything. The seeds higher on this list belong to a categorically different tier of impact. I give them 3 out of 10. Number 5, pumpkin seeds. And this entry is going to be uncomfortable for anyone who has been eating them regularly under the impression they were maximizing their benefit. Pumpkin seeds contain 2 specific carotenoids, lutein and zeaxanthin, that Harvard-affiliated researchers have confirmed are selectively deposited into one very specific anatomical region of your eye, the macula. The macula is the central zone of your retina, responsible for reading, facial recognition, driving, and any task requiring direct focal vision, and it is the structure that deteriorates first in the most common forms of vision loss. Decades of large-scale observational research have linked higher dietary intake of these 2 carotenoids to significantly reduced risk of macular degeneration progression. Your macula is actually pigmented yellow because of these compounds. It has evolved to concentrate them deliberately. Your eye is biologically designed to seek them out and accumulate them. Pumpkin seeds also deliver more zinc per ounce than nearly any other seed commercially available. Here is what will bother you. If you have been eating pumpkin seeds from a bag raw, roasted, salted, in any standard commercial form, you have likely been absorbing somewhere around half of what the seed actually contains, because pumpkin seeds carry an even higher phytic acid load than sesame seeds. Until that coating is chemically disrupted, the lutein, the zeaxanthin, and the zinc remain bound, passing through your system largely intact. The preparation is almost insultingly straightforward. The night before you plan to eat them, place your pumpkin seeds in a bowl of water, squeeze in the juice of half a lemon, stir, and leave them for 8 hours. The citric acid breaks down the phytic acid matrix chemically overnight. In the morning, drain them, rinse thoroughly, and eat them as is, or dry them briefly in a low oven. Score: 4.5 out of 10. Number 4 is the one that genuinely frustrates me, because while everyone in the nutritional space is debating flaxseed versus chia, hemp seeds are sitting on the same shelf, delivering something no other seed on this list can replicate independently. Your retina is neural tissue, the same fundamental cell type as your brain, carrying the same structural vulnerabilities, and those cells are acutely sensitive to sustained low-grade inflammation. When systemic inflammation consistently reaches the retinal layers, cell membranes destabilize, signal transmission degrades, and visual function begins declining in ways that standard eye chart testing does not capture until the structural damage is already clinically significant. The single most consequential nutritional variable governing that inflammatory environment is the ratio between omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids in your diet. The modern Western diet typically runs that ratio somewhere between 15 and 20 to 1, overwhelmingly omega-6 dominant. The evidence suggests the human body functions optimally at something closer to 3 or 4 to 1. That chronic gap maintains a persistent low-grade inflammatory state throughout the body, including within the microenvironment of your eye, every single day. Hemp seeds have a naturally occurring omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of approximately 3 to 1. No other common seed available at a standard grocery store comes close to matching that profile. A large meta-analysis reviewing 19 randomized controlled trials and data from more than 4,000 patients confirmed that correcting this fatty acid imbalance produces measurable reductions in the inflammatory markers, directly associated with dry eye disease, the chronic burning, the progressive dryness, the gritty, foreign body sensation that intensifies as the day goes on. Score: 7.5 out of 10. Number 3, and I flagged this one at the outset for good reason, is chia seeds, specifically because the manner in which the vast majority of people are currently consuming them means they are extracting almost nothing biologically useful from them. Let me give you the underlying science first. Your retina is not merely supported by DHA, it is structurally composed of it. DHA constitutes a major portion of the actual tissue your visual function depends on. When DHA is chronically undersupplied, that tissue begins to break down at the membrane level. Structural integrity erodes quietly across years. Chia seeds are among the most concentrated plant sources of ALA, the plant form omega-3 that your body enzymatically converts into DHA. That same meta-analysis of 19 randomized trials I referenced earlier confirmed that omega-3 intake measurably improves tear film breakup time, the clinical measurement of how rapidly your ocular surface dries between blinks. When that number is low, every blink feels incomplete. That is the burning, the grittiness, the persistent sensation that something is caught in your eye that never fully resolves. Now here is what has been wasted for an enormous number of people. Whole chia seeds, sprinkled into smoothies, stirred into oatmeal, or consumed as a hydrated gel, have a tough outer shell that resists your digestive enzymes effectively enough that the seeds pass through largely undigested. You are consuming the packaging, not the contents. You must grind them 10 seconds in a coffee grinder. Done. But not from a pre-ground bag. The moment a chia seed's hull is cracked and its interior surface is exposed to oxygen, the omega-3 fatty acids inside begin oxidizing rapidly. A commercially pre-ground bag sitting in a pantry or warehouse may have lost the majority of its active fatty acid potency before you ever opened it. Grind them yourself that same morning, immediately before eating, and pair them with dietary fat in the same meal. DHA is fat-soluble, and without a concurrent fat source, absorption drops substantially. A tablespoon of coconut oil in a smoothie, a drizzle of quality olive oil, half an avocado, any sound fat source, same meal, same sitting. Most people who do this correctly report that morning ocular dryness becomes noticeably less severe within 1 to 2 weeks. The deeper structural retinal benefit requires 60 to 90 days of consistent daily use, but surface-level relief frequently arrives within the first week. Score: 8 out of 10. Number 2 surprised me the most when I worked through the full body of research. Freshly ground flaxseed paired with avocado. Flaxseed contains more alpha-linolenic acid per gram than any other plant source currently known, more than chia, more than hemp, more than anything else on this list. A single tablespoon of freshly ground flaxseed delivers approximately 2,300 milligrams of plant-based omega-3. The equivalent amount of chia delivers roughly 1,700 milligrams. Every single day, that difference accumulates. The Women's Health Study, one of the most expansive long-term nutritional investigations ever conducted, tracking close to 40,000 women, found that higher dietary omega-3 intake was significantly associated with reduced risk of dry eye syndrome. Flaxseed is the most concentrated dietary vehicle for achieving that intake from food alone. The avocado is not an optional garnish. Omega-3 fatty acids require dietary fat for absorption. The monounsaturated oleic acid in avocado has been specifically identified in nutritional bioavailability research as one of the most effective fat sources for enhancing the absorption of fat-soluble compounds. That avocado is not complementary, it is mechanistically necessary. 2 rules, both absolute. First, grind the flaxseed fresh that morning. Not the evening before, not from a commercially pre-ground bag. Whole flax seeds in a coffee grinder for 10 seconds, right before you eat. Second, consume it within 15 minutes of grinding. The clock starts the moment those seeds are cracked open. 2 tablespoons over half a ripe avocado every morning. The only reason this ranks second is that the top seed on this list does something flaxseed biologically cannot. It delivers an antioxidant that your body actively regenerates within your lens tissue for hours after a single serving. Score: 9 out of 10. And at number 1, the seed that led every single category I examined: raw, unsalted sunflower seeds, paired with a quarter of a ripe avocado and the freshly squeezed juice of half a lemon, all 3 consumed together every morning. Sunflower seeds carry more vitamin E per ounce than almost any food you can purchase at a standard grocery store. A single ounce, a modest handful, provides close to half your daily recommended intake of alpha-tocopherol, the specific form of vitamin E your body preferentially absorbs and deploys. And vitamin E is not generalized nutritional support for your eyes. It is targeted and mechanistically specific. It positions itself within the membrane structure of your lens fiber cells, the precise cells housing those proteins synthesized before birth, the ones that can never be replaced, and it intercepts oxidative damage before that damage reaches the proteins themselves. A meta-analysis published in Public Health Nutrition, pooling data from multiple cohort studies and clinical trials, found that dietary vitamin E intake was significantly associated with reduced risk of age-related cataracts, with the strongest protective effect concentrated in the lens nucleus, the core, where cumulative damage is most advanced and most consequential. Now, the avocado. Vitamin E is fat-soluble. Without concurrent dietary fat, a substantial portion of it passes through without being absorbed, and the protective effect at the lens level is dramatically diminished. The monounsaturated oleic acid in avocado is the optimal delivery mechanism. Without it, you forfeit most of the benefit before it ever reaches your ocular tissue. But the lemon is the element that elevates this combination above everything else on this list, and I want you to understand exactly why that is. When a vitamin E molecule neutralizes a free radical inside your lens, which is its sole biological function, it becomes oxidized in the process. Under normal circumstances, that molecule is spent and inactive. Vitamin C changes that outcome entirely. Research on the biochemical interaction between vitamin C and vitamin E has confirmed that vitamin C reduces the oxidized vitamin E molecule back to its active form. It regenerates it. Your single morning serving of vitamin E continues working actively inside your lens tissue for hours, rather than being depleted within minutes. One meal, one serving, recycling itself continuously within the very tissue it is designed to protect. You are not simply delivering an antioxidant, you are constructing a self-sustaining system. That is the mechanism that places this combination above everything else I reviewed, and the entire protocol costs less than 85 cents per serving. Your exact protocol is as follows: 1 ounce of raw, unsalted, shelled sunflower seeds, a quarter of a ripe avocado, the juice of half a fresh lemon squeezed directly over everything. Eat all 3 together, same meal, every single morning. Check the ingredient label on your sunflower seeds. There should be exactly 1 item listed. If there is more than 1, put them back and find a brand that contains nothing else. Here is what consistent daily adherence to this protocol actually produces over time. Within the first 3 days, the heavy, gritty fatigue your eyes carry by evening, that sensation you have gradually accepted as just what eyes feel like after sustained use, begins to ease. By the end of the first week, the fog present when you first open your eyes in the morning begins clearing more quickly. Between 2 and 3 weeks in, reading fine print, navigating phone screens, and deciphering menus in low-light environments becomes measurably less effortful. By the 90-day mark, The halos around headlights during nighttime driving begin to settle. Contrast sensitivity improves. Colors appear slightly more vivid than they have in years. And some of my patients return from follow-up appointments where their optometrist quietly notes that the measured progression did not advance the way prior trends had predicted. 90 days is the structural window. Dry eye relief tends to arrive much earlier, sometimes within the first week, but the deeper lens level work requires sustained time. One important note: sunflower seeds carry a relatively elevated omega-6 content, so the dose matters. 1 ounce per day. That is the evidence-supported quantity. Exceeding it shifts the fatty acid balance in a direction that works against the anti-inflammatory goals of the broader protocol. More is not better here. Score 10 out of 10. Here is your complete daily framework. Every morning, without exception, 1 ounce of raw, unsalted sunflower seeds, a quarter avocado, and the juice of half a lemon, all together, non-negotiable. That same morning, your omega-3 layer, 2 tablespoons of hemp seeds added to yogurt or a smoothie, or 2 tablespoons of freshly ground chia paired with a quality fat source. Hemp if you want zero preparation, freshly ground chia if you want higher omega-3 concentration, choose one and stay consistent with it. 3 to 4 mornings per week, your deep omega-3 layer. 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flaxseed over the other half of that same avocado, ground immediately before eating, consumed within 15 minutes. Once per week, your macular support, pumpkin seeds soaked overnight in water with lemon juice, drained and rinsed in the morning. A small handful added to yogurt or a salad. 3 common mistakes that systematically undermine all of this. First, coffee or tea consumed within 90 minutes of your seeds. The tannins in both beverages bind zinc and other essential minerals, effectively blocking absorption of compounds you just deliberately delivered. Have your coffee afterward, always after. Second, consuming these foods in the evening rather than the morning. Fat-soluble compound absorption is measurably more efficient during the morning metabolic window. Morning, every time. Third, abandoning the protocol at 2 weeks because visible results have not materialized. Dry eye symptoms respond within days to weeks. Structural lens protection is a 60 to 90-day biological process. The peer-reviewed research on vitamin E and cataract risk was measured across 18 months of sustained intake. Stopping at 2 weeks is equivalent to planting a tree, returning 3 days later, and concluding that trees do not grow. One final note that I consider essential. Do not discontinue any prescribed medications or treatments on the basis of anything discussed here. These seeds support your underlying biology. They are not a substitute for professional medical care, and any changes to your treatment plan should always be made in direct consultation with your physician. Here is what I want you to do right now, before you finish reading this. Write down the 3 specific vision complaints that are bothering you most at this moment. Rate each one on a scale from 0 to 10. Put that note somewhere. You will find it in 30 days. Tomorrow morning, begin with the sunflower seeds, avocado, and lemon. Just that to start. 1 ounce, a quarter avocado, half a lemon, every morning. Your vision did not decline in a week, and it will not rebuild in a week, but the proteins inside your lens are waiting for the raw materials that give them a fighting chance. Everything on this list is available at your local grocery store. The full daily protocol costs less than $1 a day. There is no reason to wait until tomorrow.